As we said, Louise Woodward is back home in England in her first year at law school, where she is still known as the killer nanny. She has said all along that she did not violently shake or slam the baby. But what does she say about the new contention that Matthew Eapen may have been strangled to death? We spoke last month in London. Did you strangle Matthew Eapen?
No.
You didn't shake and you didn't slam.
No, I didn't do anything to him that day, like that, anything violent. It's,
Did you at any time put your hands around his neck?
No.
Louise Woodward also denies that she was even capable of doing what the prosecution said she did, violently shaking Matthew Eapen for up to a minute. I've never seen you before tonight. I figured that you were a much bigger girl. Here you're
I'm only 5'2". Quite small. He was a heavy baby, and I couldn't have done it. I physically couldn't have done it. But also, it was just nonsense.
That's a pretty heavy child, and it's a fair amount of weight, but it would look something like this.
It was Dr. Eli Newberger, a child abuse specialist at Boston Children's Hospital, who had testified that Matthew Eapen had been shaken for as long as a minute. The child weighed 22 pounds. Have you ever tried to pick up a 22-pound weight and shaken it? And you're a man?
I know how much a 20 and a 25-pound weight weigh. And believe me, I thought of that at the time that this was going on. And you're exactly correct. It's a heavy weight. And to propel it back and forth for up to 60 seconds requires a very substantial exertion. But
or anger.
An adult who is tremendously enraged can, over a period, do a variety of things.
And the proof of violent shaking, Dr. Newberger says, was the bleeding found in the back of Matthew Eapen's eyes. But Dr. Gillis disagrees that it was proof. Recently, a new staining test was performed on Matthew Eapen's brain tissue. Some experts say that test, showing nerve damage, indicates conclusively that the baby had indeed been violently shaken. But again, Dr. Gillis disagrees. And Dr. Gerald Feigen, who performed Matthew's autopsy for the Massachusetts Medical Examiner's Office, says he never found evidence of the prolonged violent shaking that the prosecutors insisted had happened.
People hear what they want to hear and see what they want to see, and you can't make somebody believe what they don't want to.
And they wanted you to testify about shaken baby, and you declined to do that?
That's right.
And for that, Dr. Feigen says he paid a price.
That's correct.
After I did this case, they no longer let me do children cases.
Really?
Yes, sir.
So they were miffed at you?
I believe so. They said there's too much pressure on me. They want to let it cool off for a while. And I found I wasn't really doing much of anything after that.
You think that was in retaliation?
I think it's sucking up to the prosecutors.
While Dr. Feigen does not believe that Matthew Eapen was shaken to death, he does believe that he died from someone slamming his head against a hard object just hours before he was taken to the hospital. Apart from the cause of death, Drs. Gillis and Nelson found what they believe are other significant oversights by the prosecutors. They say the investigators missed several other key injuries of uncertain date, suggesting that instead of a single attack, as the prosecutors charged, Matthew Eapen might have been repeatedly abused.
What we see are on these ribs, on the left side, there are fractures of these 3 ribs, and the right adjacent to the spinal column.
And these would be how old?
They look pretty fresh. So there's no healing or the new bone trying to heal them, so all I can say is they could be hours old or they could be up to 3 weeks old.
But as far as, of course, this wasn't brought forth at the trial.
No, I don't believe it was.
Prosecution witnesses say the fractures might have occurred during autopsy, but simple tests that could have settled that question and even dated the fractures were just not done.
There are multiple injuries to this child.
Multiple?
Multiple. Injuries on multiple occasions, some recent and some older.
Well, it means that the child was assaulted at a previous time. He'd been assaulted more than once.
which Dr. Gillis says may explain a suspicious hemorrhage in Matthew's abdomen.
How would that bruise, if you will, in the belly of Matthew Eapen, how would it take place?
The usual cause for that is a fist to the front of the abdomen.
No one knows when that alleged blow might have happened, although there is a possible clue. Louise Woodward said Matthew Eapen's bowels had stopped moving before she came back on duty Monday morning, about a day and a half before Matthew was hospitalized.
And would that cause constipation?
It has the potential of causing constipation because the bowel is caught between the fist and the back of the abdomen. So it can stop functioning for a few days, yes.
Doctors Gillis and Nelson